Welcome back to the lab, where progress continues on VG30 DETT powered Z32 300 ZX short wheelbase hardtop manual right hand drive JDM input. That thing there. You worked it out yet? So what we're doing here is we're pressure testing the cooling system. I actually just put it into the overflow. You put pressure in there, it'll just bypass the one-way check valve, and you can crank it up to whatever you like. We've got 10 psi according to that, or something like that. It's not quite 10 psi, is it? 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, that would be 25. So odd markings on this. We could put some more in it. There we go. It's a little bit more now. Some more PSIs. So, and the reason why I'm doing that is because you do, right? You'd pressure test things when you finish with them. But yesterday, I had to tackle quite a task on this thing. So you'll remember that I discussed Friday the 13th and not wanting to work on the car, and I didn't. I ordered some antifreeze for it though, and I think that's where I went wrong. I shouldn't have done that on Friday the 13th because everything was going sweet until I put the antifreeze in the car, and then things were not going sweet anymore. After leaving it sitting, it may have been overnight or something like that, and I needed to move it to do, I was probably working on the march, always doing that. So, and then, we got a puddle of antifreeze on the floor. Whoops. Where's that coming from? Bell housing. Okay, so there's more than two frost plugs in there. Welsh plugs, casting plugs, whatever we're going to argue about calling them. There's a couple of options. It was either coming from in the valley on the motor, or it was coming from in the bell housing area in the motor. Now, obviously, to get to the valley, we have to take the plenum off, we have to take the intake manifold off. To get the intake manifold off, you've got to take the entire front end of the engine to pieces to get the stud off to pull that. So that's quite hard. That's the harder job to do versus pulling the gearbox, which I can do in about 30 minutes or something like that. So I had to go on the hoist anyway. So pulled the gearbox off, had a look, nah, bad luck. It's coming from in the valley. So take all the top of it all apart, get in there, and we have a leaking Welsh plug or frost plug or freeze plug or casting. Yep. So took that all apart. There was a flaw in the bore for the Welsh plug, which is, this is the plug here, right? So I've hit that with a drift to get it out of the car, but there was a flaw in the surface in the block that this surface here makes up against. Now whether that was something that I accidentally did while I was clearing the casting flash from inside the motor, or whether that was something that was there before and somehow the factory just got away with it and then we didn't, I'm not sure, and it doesn't really matter. It was leaking. I fixed it. It's not leaking now, as best as I can. Do we dare look underneath the car? Now there is a little bit on the floor that was there before. Yeah, that's about what was there before. I'll have a look under there and no, it's leaking. Crap, we've got another frost plug or something we need to look into. We've got a couple. Potentially. We've got to go find some more leaks. Fun. This is why I stopped working on these cars. They're actually a bit of a nuisance. Let's see what it is. Hopefully just some hose clamps on heater hoses or something like that. Bum, bum, bum. Got to pull the engine out. No, I'm just kidding. Crisis is averted. Fixed it. It was actually the same problem that we had before. It's the exact same frost plug. So there's something has happened to the bore for that frost plug, the one that's right in the middle of the valley. I'm not going to say the stupidest, one of the hardest ones to get to on the car. It's not round. It's got some funny marks in it, like dents. They've been there a while. They're quite dark in colour. They're not from me getting in there and removing casting flash. I've got that tool. Hold 1 second. That tool. The tool. So that reaches from one end of the block right through to the other, and I don't have to go down through those middle frost plug holes, Welsh plug holes. So I'm not sure how that's got damaged. I should probably have picked up on that while I was changing frost plugs. Didn't, my bad. It should have fixed it the second time I went in there and put some sealant around it with a brand new frost plug, and went in with a flappy wheel on the end of the Dremel and made the hole a bit rounder, but didn't. So what I've done today is made a tool to customize frost plug. So, and drank too much of this, I suspect. This is the original one that was leaking. This is not the one that's in the car now, quite clearly, because the car's assembled. Made that, so I can put that in there and make the frost plug just a bit bigger. We're not talking heaps, we're talking 1/4 millimetre or something like that. 10th hour in the old school money, old money. So that will put more tension on it. So I made it bigger, and I tidied it up. I put it on the lathe over there, polished the outside edge of it a bit tidier than what the factory has, and I used, excuse the mess, I put 3 bond on it instead of this orange silicon, that high temp silicon that everybody hates, and that's probably where I went wrong. 3 bond is a much better product. So that's in there. I put it back together quickly, as in just the water manifolds and not the plenum or the intake manifold. I had to put those back on. I don't have any bungs. Well, I do, but I couldn't be bothered finding them, so it was easier just to drop the radiator back in, quickly hook it up, put my pressure tester on there, put 15 psi in it, filled the valley with water. Rather than having water in the engine, I put water in the valley to see if there were any air bubbles, because the air is going to come out easier than water, and we were good. It wasn't leaking. So now I've put it all back together, filled it up with antifreeze, etc. I've run it. It's actually run for the longest time ever. It's actually up 100% up to temp, operating temp. Oil pressure and all that is all good. We can see oil temp and all that sort of carry on. Bit of wind tunnel testing for the poor March. Maybe I should have moved the poor thing back a little bit. Never mind. Yeah, so the tune is horrendously wrong. I've been fiddling with mixtures trying to get it right, but it's not even close. It's barely going to run to get it on the trailer, so I can't really run it any more than that. That's not good for it. A way to do it was I can borrow the CAN Lambda units out of the March, power them up, plug them into the ECU that's in this. I may do that, and then I can get the tune pretty good, at least down at the bottom end, so that we can run it and get it on the trailer. We're not going to foul up spark plugs and all that sort of carry on. Do we dare? That's a lot better. There's a little bit over there. I know what that is. I washed some things and I didn't clean it up. So I think we're good. But I'll lift it up. I'll have a look underneath properly and make sure we don't have any oil leaks from those banjo fittings on turbos and all that sort of carry on. But it's looking a heck of a lot better than what it was. So yay. No leaky leakies. Well, not so far. Not that I've seen anyway. Looks like leaky leakies till you get up close. Oh, the light's terrible for you guys. It's good. There's certainly no gushes. What have we got here? See, it's funny how all these other frost plugs, I say this very, very bravely, don't I? The other frost plugs have got no problems at all, but that one particular little pain in the brain, no leaks in here. What about all this horrible oil stuff? Yeah, that looks good. There's a tiny little drop there, isn't there? Right there, right in the middle of your screen. I'll keep an eye on that. That looks beautiful. Very hard to look and to drive the camera for you guys as well. But we're looking good. There was a drop of antifreeze just here again and I was panicked. But I don't think it's
anything to worry about. I think that's residual. I will have a look from the top again just to make sure we're not accumulating puddles in our tunnel valley. It's good. It's good. Right. Here's the bungs that I need to use to put the O2 sensors on it. They're far, far easier to get to than the ones that are up on the top that we won't even be able to see just there. I just burped. That's hot. See, that's hot. Not lying. Right, let's have a look from the top.
I can't show you. It's way too difficult. It involves a mirror on a stick and a torch and kneeling over the top of the motor. Fortunately on this one the exhaust gas recirculation was removed and I chopped off the piece that hangs down bracket off the bottom of the intake manifold. Without that there in the way you can actually see up inside the valley quite clearly, and at least for now, right at this point in time, we don't have any problems. That's good. Now it's fixed. It's looking not too bad, isn't it? I was a bit late with turning it off, ran it a little bit too long, so we did foul up spark plugs. That's fine, no problem. Clean those all up. Put all the rest of the stuff on there. That, as it sits right there, that's not finished, but that is ready to go for a tune. There'll be, I'm going to check the oil and water and stuff, and I'll put some tape around some things so that we don't have wires chafing and that. But that's good enough. That'll be tunable. And when that's all sorted, we know we've got no dramas to sort out. Funnily enough, I'll take a lot of it apart so we can polish tubes and get things powder coated and all that sort of carry on. It's running a lot quieter than what it was when it came in from memory. It was pretty drony, bassy, yucky compared to what it normally was when I had the car. To do with cam timing and just a terrible tune. The whole thing was just rubbish. But we'll see. It should be a lot better. But in the meantime, excuse the hoist getting in the way here, I suggested to the customer before we put all these panels back in the back of the car, I had removed all the factory sound dampening material out of the back of the car to make it lighter for race car stuff and things. I mean, it's a bit ridiculous. This thing's, I think it's 1400 kgs or something like that. All the sound dampening material throughout the whole car might have been 5 or 10 kgs if you're lucky. Really not a big deal. But as you do, as I do, pulled it all out. So off to our mates down at Ripco. Good sponsor of the race car, those fellas. And get ourselves some Dynamat. Smash that in there. Now it is a little bit piecemeal. It's a little bit here, bit there, bit there. Originally I didn't think I'd have anywhere near enough to get the boot done, so I was just kind of strategically attacking certain areas and then using offcuts to fill in other areas. As it turns out, pretty much got the entire boot done, so that's good. I will need to go and see them again to get a little more and do this piece across the front here. Just might as well if we're going to do it. And there's also some stuff, I'm not sure about the driver's side. Don't know whether I bothered over there, but there's some stuff under the floor here that I pulled out, so I might as, if I'm doing it, do it properly, so I'll put that back in as well. And that will be about as far as we'll go until we get it tuned, which might be Tuesday next week by the looks of this. Looks of things that are happening. Depends on the weather. I'm not towing it up to Auckland in tsunami, in the typhoon. I was going to say tsunami. That's the wrong word, in typhoon. We don't get typhoons in New Zealand. We do get bad weather. We've got some right now. Anyway, time for dinner. Thanks for watching. Cheers, bye.